Most dads want to lose weight, but they're using the same workouts that they did in their 20s when they had unlimited time and also no kids. So that's why I created this 3-phase system specifically for dads. And over the past few years, it's helped over 100 men transform their body and health. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how the system works and how you can use it to lose over 20 pounds in just 90 days without ever having to do extreme diets, long workouts, or even sacrifice family time. Okay, let's dive into phase 1. Now, before we get into the specific workouts or meal plans or supplements that you need to take, it's really important to understand this underlying thing. The biggest win that you need to do is reclaim your health. And that's what we do in phase 1, is when I work with my clients, I want to make sure that we start building up some momentum. Now, let's be honest. Any dad who tries to get back in shape, the first thing that you do is you usually go from 0 to 100. Right? You go from not working out at all to 4 or 5 times a week. You go from not dieting to fasting for 3 days or trying to cut out carbs for the next 30 days. And all that does is that it brings you into the cycle of being on and off all the time. Where instead, what we want to do is build things up brick by brick. See, after coaching over 100 men, the problem isn't discipline or motivation. Reality is you're not lazy. The problem is that you've conditioned yourself to always give up, to always quit whenever it comes to your health and fitness. Because you say you're going to do something, like you're going to work out, you're going to eat healthier. But after a few days, after a few weeks, you're off track again. Now, just to help you understand this, imagine if you did the same thing to your kids, right? Imagine telling your son, Johnny, hey, Johnny, when we get home, we're going to go to the park every single day. All right? And now Johnny's super excited. He's come home from school. He's thinking about, oh my God, I'm going to hang out with dad. I'm going to be able to go to the swings, etc., etc. And day 1 comes. You do it. You show up on time. You get to go to the park with him. Day 2 comes. You do the same thing. And day 3, something happens. You have to work a little bit later. Something comes up and you come home late. By the time you come home late, you're already tired, right? Johnny's disappointed and, he forgives you. But, he knows at least tomorrow is going to be different. Now, come the 4th day, it's something else, right? Your wife asks you to pick something up, but you totally forget the minute you get home, so you have to go run out and get it. Now, what happens? You don't get to go to the park with Johnny. And this happens over and over and over again. And now maybe day 7 comes and you end up going to the park with Johnny. You're on time. But then day 8, day 9 is totally different. By the end of it, your son is conditioned to not believe in your word, right? He's conditioned to, oh yeah, dad said this, but you know what? It might not even happen. You've done the same thing to yourself because every single time, every year, every January 1st that you say it's a new year, I'm going to get back to my best. And after a few weeks, you give up on yourself. It's that same vicious cycle over and over and over again. So how do you end up, following through when you don't even keep your own word? So that's what phase 1 is all about. It's not about grinding or working harder and harder. It's about reclaiming your energy, your confidence, and your own self-respect. So that's why phase 1, I call it reclaim. Now let's actually get a little granular here, okay? Because I want to break it down what we actually do in phase 1. And it's very simple. It's foundational. I want it to be as stupid simple for any dad that works with me. Right? So that, it doesn't actually take up more time. Instead, it actually adds and gives you back time into your lifestyle. So 3 main things that we're going to be working on. All right. Number 1 is having 2 walks a day. Super simple. It can be a minimum of 10 minutes. All right. And you can do that anytime, whether it's during your lunch, whether it's first thing in the morning, or if it's at night after dinner with your wife, your kids, etc. Now, this isn't flashy, but walking helps you lose weight faster, it helps decrease your stress, and it also gives you that mental clarity. The most important, though, is that it helps you build repeatable wins. Now, I'll give you an example of my client, Alex, here. And he's a dad of 2. Also, he's a vice president of a real estate company. So super busy guy, a ton of long hours. And the big shift for him wasn't the amount of weight that he lost. It was essentially the mental clarity that he had from going on walks. So what we ended up doing is that now he's going on walks throughout the day where he's taking all of his calls just around the office, just walking, getting steps. And now he gets 12,000 steps a day on a normal basis simply by making that shift. And simply by doing that, the byproduct, he's lost 56 pounds. So what you want to create is repeatable wins instead of just, again, going from 0 to 100 and saying, oh, I'm going to work out 5-6 days a week. Oh, I'm going to get 10,000 steps. All right, build it up first and then get there. Now, the second foundational win that we're really building up here is getting exercise in. And what I'm doing that is doing the bare minimum. Simply 2 workouts a week. All right? I don't care what your schedule is. You can get a workout in twice a week for a minimum of 20 minutes. I have clients that work 14, 16-hour days. I kid you not, 16-hour days. And he can still get a 20-minute workout in. All right, so it's about, again, making your health a priority. Now, the third foundational win is sharing in a community. All right, something that guys don't talk about is that men in isolation fail, but men in community grow. All right, so that's why it's so important to have accountability during your whole fitness journey. One of the things that my clients enjoy the most is the community of fathers that hold a standard for each other inside of my coaching program. All right? Because it's not about being perfect. It's about staying plugged in. It's about showing up as consistently as possible. Because at the end of the day, perfection is this unrealistic standard. All right? But if you can do something, something is always better than nothing. So when you get your steps in, share it with a group. When you get your workout in, share it with a group. That, again, helps you build momentum and build foundational things that allow you to continue to move forwards so that we're ending up building things brick by brick instead of just, going from 0 to 100 and then constantly on and off. Now, here's what it looks like, right? Here you have a list of my own clients. They're sharing their wins. They're getting pumped up. I had a client named Austin, and he shared with me, Michael, during some days, I didn't feel like going to the gym. But I knew that there were other men inside of the program that were sharing their workouts getting done. They were getting their steps, going on walks with their family. And I knew I had to rise up to the occasion. And that's, again, why it's so important to have community throughout your fitness journey. It is a foundational win to have that, especially when you want to reclaim your health. So again, just to recap, phase 1 is reclaim, right? And it's not about perfection. It's about reclaiming your health with foundational wins. Like number 1, walking twice a day for 20 minutes. Number 2 is being able to work out a minimum of 2 times a week. And number 3 as well, having this community, having accountability outside of just yourself, because men who are isolated fail and men in community thrive and rise. These 3 simple actions may not seem extreme, but it's exactly why they work. All right, it's about meeting you where you're at and taking you throughout a journey to continue to improve every single week. And that's all that matters. Okay, so now you've finished phase 1. You've reclaimed your time, your energy, and you're building momentum. That brings us to phase 2, which is all about rebuild. This is where the physical transformation really starts to show. You are more dialed in. You're building up on the habits that you had in phase 1, and you're taking them to a new level. Now, what tends to happen is that dads build up a little bit of momentum when they're trying to lose weight, right? But again, life gets in the way, you get unmotivated, and then you're off track again. And again, you start this vicious cycle over and over and over again. So that's why it's so important to build on the habits that you created in phase 1 so that you continue to rise and you really start seeing the changes that you actually want. Again, here is the honest truth. Working out 6 days a week, fasting, having to count your calories, extreme diets like cutting out carbs, those don't work. Because the reality is you don't need more pressure, you don't need more stress, you don't need more things on your plate. What you do need is more structure. And that's what phase 2 delivers. So let me show you how this actually looks. So the way I like to start with my clients is incorporating more short, effective workouts. So if we can, instead of working out twice a week, can we slowly move up to 3? And that gives you enough stimulus to not only lose fat, but also build muscle at the same time. Now, here is the most important part though. All right? When you're doing your workouts, don't smash yourself. All right? What tends to happen is, again, that all or nothing mindset for guys, and you go too hard on day one, day two, that by the time day three comes, you're sore, you feel like not working out at all, and you're already mentally tired. So instead, we want to shift things around and again, keep building momentum. That's not to say that you're just going to lift 5-pound weights and not do anything. No, it's still important to push yourself. But we want to think about it as a long game. All right? Can we get as many workouts in as consistently as possible to continue what we've built in phase one? Now, just to give you an example, here's one of my clients, Reniel. Right? He's a dad of two teenagers, and also a manager at a software company. And he used to think, I don't have time. If I don't have a full hour to work out, there's no point in working out at all. And we worked together to change that mindset. All right. We incorporated shorter workouts. And even when he'd have 12-hour days, we split his workouts up throughout the day to make it work for his lifestyle. And in the end, he ended up losing 23 pounds. But that wasn't even the best part. All right. The best part is that after these shift with the shorter workouts, he shared with me, Michael, I'm stronger, more energized, and feel better than when I was first married. On top of that, he shared with me that he's even stronger and comparing himself with his teenage sons. All right. One of his sons is trying to work out with him and exercise to keep up. And at the end of the day, that's what really matters. Now, the next part of phase two is about rebuilding your nutrition. The main goal is to have all your meals just run on autopilot. Now, we don't do this by restricting your food, but instead simplifying it even more. And this is what I call my dad fuel formula. All right. It's about leveraging high energy nutrition foods that give you energy and actually save you time versus drain you. Because, instead of being tired at 2 p.m. or having to come home and wanting to slouch down on the couch, you have more energy to play with your kids, to hang out with your wife, to actually invest more into other areas of your life. All right. And here's an example, again, from my client, Reniel. Now, when you look at it, it's super simple. Simple foods, whole foods that he's eating throughout the day, and we're incorporating it into simple dishes that he can eat on repeat. All right. Like eggs in the morning, fried rice for lunch, at dinner, having a simple carb source, having some veggies like a salad, and having it with a great source of protein. Now, in between, having different snacks where you're having 2 scoops of protein and also some fruit to, keep you energized throughout the day. When you eat this way, you don't have to be the weird guy that's eating different foods at a barbecue. You can continue to eat similar things that fit your plan. At the same time, when Reniel made some of these changes, again, the biggest win for him wasn't the weight loss. It wasn't that he saw his lean abs again. It was that he was able to eat his favorite foods without any guilt, without having to give up or restrict himself. And fun fact, he shared with me that he even felt full despite dieting on a daily basis. So when you're locked in, phase 2 is all about rebuilding. Again, it's simplifying your workouts and just adding a little bit more, 2 to 3 times a week for 35 minutes. It's having your nutrition on autopilot. And 3, it's about building consistency, momentum, and continue to rise with the habits that you're building. So this takes us into phase 3. Right now, you've reclaimed your health and energy. You've rebuilt the habits. And now it's time to take it up another level again. And that's why phase 3 is rise. This is where change becomes permanent because dads are no longer trying to stay on track. Instead, they're really focused on just leading by example. Majority of dads start to fall off at this point. And it's not because they care less, but because life starts to get messy again, right? Work starts to pick up and you're even busier. You have your kids' activities. You have a kid get sick or a personal problem happens. And the reality is, life is constantly messy as a dad. So that's why it's so important. Again, you've built up this momentum, you've rebuilt your habits, and now it's important to keep that standard high. You need to continue to work through the busy seasons, because if you always end up giving up or going off track during the busy seasons, what you end up telling yourself is that, when life gets hard, I quit. When life gets hard, I give up. And although, during your work, you continue to push through those seasons. In your marriage, you continue to push through the hard seasons. But every time it's gone hard with your health and fitness, you've always caved into quitting. So we need to change that and continue to level up. So here's an example of how that actually looks like. All right, here's my client, Bo. Bo is an engineer. He's a dad. And the reason why he's doing all of this is because he wants to lead by example for his daughter, Isabella. All right? Now, Bo, one of the biggest struggles that we faced was, one, he had a couple of vacations during the initial 90-day period. All right? Second, he also had to get his wisdom tooth taken out. All right? So these are things that we need to allocate for. These are things that we need to take into account. Now, the biggest thing that we ended up doing is we adjusted the plan throughout those periods. All right? You have to be able to adapt. Just like at work, right? When you have a new problem, when you have a new coworker that might mess things up, right? You need to be able to adapt through those seasons. So, same principle applies to your health and fitness. So in the end, we weren't relying on motivation or the amount of time in order to stay on track. Instead, we just relied on structure and systems. At the end of the day, lead at home. All right? Your kids are always watching what you do. Your wife is always watching what you do. So it's so important to make sure that you're leading by example and setting the tone for what health really means in your family. Now, at the end of the day, it's not about six-pack abs. It's not about getting shredded. It's about having the right habits so that you embody the discipline and consistency that you want to pass down to your kids. All right? It's about leading a proper legacy. And for Bo, my client, one of the biggest wins for him, it wasn't, again, dropping a shirt size or starting to see his abs again, or it wasn't even the weight that he's lost. The biggest win for him was that when he was working out, doing some push-ups, his daughter Isabella started to walk in, and she ended up hopping on his back, and he ended up doing push-ups with her, and she's giggling, having a fun time, and asking dad to do more and more and more. And that's really the most important win. All right? So at the end of the day, again, take ownership for your results. Take lead by example, and also continue to level up, especially when we talk about rising to occasion. All right, so that is phase 3, rise. So if you're a busy dad who's sick and tired of starting over and over again, and you want to build a dad bod that you're actually proud of, you want to build the right routines, the right habits, then this is the system. All right, first, reclaim your energy. Second, rebuild your body and habits. And third, rise up to the occasion so that you can lead by example for your family. So again, use this system, and if you found this valuable, then make sure to smash the like button below. Now, quickly before we close, if you want feedback on your plan, all right, no fluff, no pressure, just real and honest feedback on what you're currently doing. Maybe you're stuck at a plateau or you don't know where to start. Then check out the link in the description, all right? It'll take you to a Google form, and literally I will review your personal plan and give you feedback. So again, super simple. Just want to be able to help more dads inside of my community do that. Now, after watching this and you're a dad who you don't want to think anymore and you just want the fastest path and you're open to coaching, then I also have another link that'll get you straight to my website. All right, you can learn about my coaching program, how I help dads reclaim the dad bod, help them transform their body and health, and help them get healthy for their family. All right, you'll learn more about my story and how to access the program from there. All right, with that, go be legendary. Cheers.